Now, when you're out on the highway, how would you like the freedom to put your foot down and do 140 kilometres an hour? There are some who argue our speed limits are too low.
Speed limits are currently set by bureaucrats, so our proposal is that we change that so that speed limits are determined by motorists as a group.
Senator-elect David Leyonhjelm heading to Canberra to shake things up. High on his list, the experts who decide how fast we can drive. He wants you, the driver, to take that job.
Imagine what could happen if they let drivers decide the speed limit, if they took down all the road signs and then let drivers go at what they thought was a safe maximum. Then they crunched all the data and put it back up on the signs as the new speed limit. Would that be a way to save us all travel time, or would it be a recipe for road carnage?
Taking the speed limits out of the hands of the experts and creating a speed limit lottery is rather nonsensical.
We don't think the government, politicians, bureaucrats are any smarter than the general public. The general public's perfectly entitled to make these sorts of decisions.
The speed limit is just that. It's a limit that's set to keep people safe. The responsibility is always in the driver's hands.
So if we, the public, say 140 is a better speed limit, does that put David on the money or off his rocker?
What I'm saying is that the people who are setting those speed limits at the moment, they're engineers. That's not an engineering question, it's a moral, ethical question.
We voted David in last election, and in July he'll be unleashed on the Senate. His Liberal Democratic Party has a lot of libertarian ideas that some people call out of step or wacky. And this radical proposal to let drivers decide speed limits is certainly out there.
The minute there's no enforcement, everybody speeds. And the police feel embarrassed about enforcing some of the speed limits. You don't have to get rid of speed cameras, you don't have to get rid of fines, you just have to set the speed limits at a level that people think is reasonable, then a lot of this angst would go away.
There's a lot of science and research and experience that goes into determining what speed drivers can go at on a certain road. To take all that experience out of the equation and basically put it to the public to do whatever speed they want just does not make road safety sense.
The NRMA's Peter Curry is too polite to say what he's really thinking, and our own motoring expert Sam Stevens loves the idea of less government and bureaucratic interference, but she doubts we could handle the limits that we might set.
Ultimately, if we were to hypothetically review the speed rules in Australia, you would need more driver education and you would need more testing of vehicles, particularly older vehicles. You would have to make sure that both people and their vehicles are safe and are up to speed.
Now we're all assuming any new speed limits that drivers would set would be higher rather than lower. And that has to mean more accidents and more deaths, doesn't it, David?
Some people argue that higher speed limits would actually reduce the road toll a bit, but that's really not the issue. The issue is that this is a social question. How many accidents are we willing to live with in order to get around at a convenient speed?
David says there will always be accidents whether the speed limit is higher or lower, but it should be our decision. So will Australia's drivers support him?
When it comes to something as serious as speed limits on our roads, I think they would be the first to say, let's make sure we get it right and do it properly.
And you can have your say on the proposal by going to our website.